Good afternoon, traders. It's E from MarketWizards.com with a quick reminder to make sure that you're using risk capital you can afford to lose. Today, I thought I would show a little bit offbeat video showing my setup with, I've got 4 screens that I'm using. And I just thought I'd kind of show my setup, sanitized versions of the charts, obviously, but just to show the how you can reduce the complexity of trading to simplicity. And I think that's very important. We need to be very efficient. Number one, we need to be focused on priority. And obviously, we need to be able to perform under pressure. So this is a setup of one of my monitors. And with a click of a button, I have these all set up so that the studies are already done there. And I've labeled them for your convenience. And if I just click on the next button, I can immediately go to a different study on the same box that I've got here, the chart window, and RTH values, obviously. And so at the click of a button, I can see more. And anytime I want, obviously I can expand the chart so it'll fill the whole window if I want to prioritize that any moment in time. And here's more macro studies here. So while some traders prefer to have 25 different products on their windows, I prefer to take different views. And this is our one of the keys of our system is to know where these predictive price levels are. And I want to know that on different time frames as well. And of course, the angels and demons, both for RTH and Globex, and my tunnel system that I use in different speeds, and one with MAs on it. This is more of a speed chart, a timing chart with the MA. One is Globex and one is RTH. And then obviously a target system for Globex, my side-by-side chart, and custom targets. And these, for the most part, are going to represent the time frame that I have here, despite the fact that I just mocked this up using, for the most part, RTH charts. And you can tell that by the gap, obviously. So that's my primary window right in front of me where I am looking probably 80% of the time, and I'm just choosing one of these. I'm scanning them all, but I'm looking at one of them in particular at a certain time and saying, what about this? What about that? And the macro studies, you're really looking at pre-market. And then when you get to the actual day trading time, then I'm going to focus on another window that's right next to it. All right, this is the screen right next to the one I just showed you. And this is my action window. My dome is right here. As you get older, one of the things you'll discover is your eyes change. And so one of the problems I've encountered in recent years is how do I see this, all this information? And first of all, not get paralyzed by all of it. And secondly, how can I physically see it at the right distance? So I've set this up fairly close with me, and I actually use reading glasses a lot of the time just to get this right. My vision is corrected for distance, but I don't need glasses for the most part, other than for driving, especially at night. But I find the reading glasses help me, and then I can kind of look over the top as I'm looking at different screens that are above this. I've got 2 above these. At any rate, that's part of life, we just have to go with the flow. So this is my where I contain my Orbo. And at the beginning of trading RTH, this is the chart that I am looking at. This is my fast chart, and then I want to confirm that with a slower chart. And this is my Globex, so I'm reading the information continuously from overnight on this chart, and got an Orbo set up on that too. And Orbo, for those of you who don't know, opening range breakout. And if you want, you can put the D at the end, opening range breakdown when it comes south side. So these are very important charts, and I want them right next to my dome, because this is where the action happens, right here. And then I've also got to set up for news, and I'm still testing that, but finding some reasonable results with this. But using the Orbo system pre-market, like a lot of news comes out, say at 8:30, and if it's an important news event, then I'm really going to be looking at this too, and I'm going to try to jive it with those other target charts that I've got to see where it could eventually go. And I can also use this for FOMC and put that on in the afternoon and change the time frame if I want to RTH or whatever, and use it in the afternoon. So I'm playing around with that, and I'm finding that's a reasonable idea, but it doesn't override the system ideas for targets. These just may impact it for a shorter time, but still I'm looking at my primary targets that were already determined in prior weeks and days and so on. So this is a very important and right next to me all the time, and this gives me a nice wide view, a field of vision here on this, while I can scan the other charts. Let's move on and take a look at another. All right, we're taking a look at a monitor just above the one we were just looking at. And I contain there's some important information, but not as the higher priority as the ones I've shown you already. But they are very important to me overall. And in this top box, I'm looking at the macro view in a yearly, and it can either be 1 year or 2 years or weeklies, but I contain this here. And the importance of being organized, I cannot stress this enough. Typically, that's not my style. I've really had to work hard to get myself under control. Years ago, my basement would look, like a disaster. But I've learned in this business, you can't afford to not know where your stuff is. It's like your command center. You saw Top Gun probably. You're looking at all these instruments, and they're all important. Fuel gauges and oil pressure and temperature and so on. So we need them all. And this is, I would have to say, one of my more important ideas is to get organized. And it's helped me a lot. So in this window, I've got the ES. I want to know, because I'm trading the NQ and there's more volatility and I like the ranges, I've migrated away from the E-mini, but I still want to know what it's doing. So I've got about 6 or 7 windows here that I can look at a glance and tell, what is the likelihood of this, where is this perhaps going, and easily find out the major ideas. And truthfully, any time that I want, I can create the whole setup all over again just by saving this workspace, and then relabeling obviously the NQ with ES. So once you get organized, then you have a template, and it's so easy to do. And that's one of the reasons I really love NinjaTrader, because they make it easy to do that. Back to the to NQ, here's where I keep my order flow VWAP. Here's where I keep my volume profile. Down here, I've got several of them are a little redundant, but this one I keep my IB chart right here. And then I keep my gap chart right behind it. I've even got on my spreadsheets, I've got one page where I just show this whole setup. So if I get messed up anytime, I can go back and recreate this fairly easily, because I know where everything is now. And this one I've got backup, and a lot of times I'll program this for like those different time frames, like news or whatever, and that way I don't have to keep changing stuff, and then I can just drag that down into my other window, and I'm ready to go with that ahead of time for news. This is the balance of power. Most of these other than angels and demons, most of these have been created with the e-widget. And then this is my balance of power, and I have several different sizes that I use here. And I can't tell you how much this has saved me time-wise during market hours from filling out a spreadsheet, but I still do it anyway when it's quiet time or lunch or after hours. I update my spreadsheet every day, and it really gets my mind into it. The last one here, I've got several swings. This is an intraday swing chart that I use. I've got several of them that I will use in different speeds, depending on where it's going. And that way I can really get a micro look at it. And then I've got a larger one for a multi-day bounce that I use. So these are my primary ideas. And anytime I want to get a value, I can come over there and easily get my values right next to it. So this really completes the setup that I'm using, and I'll continue to tweak it, but for now, that works for me pretty well. All right, wrapping things up again, I'm not being paid to advertise for NinjaTrader or Kinetic. I'd use those products. I love them. They make life easy for me. Especially because with NinjaTrader, you can get that platform for free. You don't even have to trade with it. If you got your own, brokerage account someplace, you could take advantage of people like myself who offer things like the widget and use your own. So even if you don't have an account with them or IB or something that connects to them, you could still use your own brokerage account, but use this type of a program for your studies. At any rate, I enjoy their product, and it's worth a look. I would suggest you take a look, especially if you're a beginner. It's a great way to get started, and that's how I got started a long time ago. It just made sense, and their support is terrific. So again, not a plug for them, just telling it like it is. I love them. So I hope you enjoyed today's tour. This was the idea of this was just to give back a little to the community. I try to put out some posts here and there and share some ideas. It's probably time for some new blood to step forward and put their ideas forward. But I just thought I'd take a little time to show you my setup and the things that I'm looking at a good portion of my day. Thanks for listening and have yourself a wonderful weekend. See you on the other side in the Twitter world and wherever. And a reminder, if you want to get in contact with me, you easily contact me here and shop page. Take a look there, any products that might interest you, especially the widget, which I've tried to showcase today. All right, be well, everybody.